My next guest is Reverend Dr. Neil Thomas. He's senior pastor, Metropolitan Community Church in L.A. He's currently president of California Faith for Equality, which is an interfaith coalition that's bringing what he calls a strong voice about marriage equality to California. Reverend Dr. Neil Thomas, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it.
No problem, Larry. Thank you very much for having me on your show.
Reverend, tell us why you are supporting same-sex marriage.
I believe that two people who love each other, regardless of their gender, should have the fundamental rights under the law as any other person. And it's not about a religious argument for me, although I would definitely say that there are some religious arguments, but that this is the equal rights of two people, regardless of their same gender or opposite gender. If they want to make a commitment of their life to one another, which is certainly something in the fabric of our society, I believe that they should have the same rights as everybody else.
Reverend Dr. Neil, certainly opinion is changing. I think I saw a poll that said for the first time a majority of Americans are now supporting same-sex marriage. However, only 9 states do. What do you say to the other 41?
Well, I think it's time that we make a federal change. I think that's what the Supreme Court is looking at, and that we certainly make that sweeping change across the country. We've seen it happen in other countries, and the sky is not falling in, and I think it's time for us as a progressive society to recognize the validity of same-gender couples.
I'm talking to Reverend Dr. Neil G. Thomas, president of California for Faith and Equality. His website is www.mccla.org. Twitter handle, Reverend Dr. Neil Thomas. Reverend Doctor, people who oppose same-sex marriage will give you the following argument. You have no idea what kind of effect it's going to have on society. Historically, our country has not recognized same-sex marriage, and many people believe that a nuclear intact family, mother and father, is the best vehicle for inculcating values and for inculcating appropriate sex roles. That is the argument that most people who oppose same-sex marriage have, including, of course, if they're religious, the references in the Bible in Leviticus and Romans that oppose homosexuality. So for people like that, you say what?
Well, first of all, I don't believe the Bible does oppose homosexuality. If you quote Leviticus, there are many other prohibitions that also exist in the Levitical Code that are not applicable under the Christian gospel. And the reality is that they had prohibitions around wearing clothing with more than one fabric, about eating shellfish. I mean, there are many rules in the Levitical Code that everyone else seems to ignore, but they seem to want to always pull out this one. And in Romans, Paul does not talk about same-gender loving couples as we know them today. Paul did not know about homosexual relationships in the same way that we understand them today. The world has moved on a lot since Paul's understanding of same-gender relationships or their notion within the Greco-Roman culture. And if we really want to talk about procreation, then perhaps we should say that marriage is only available to those who can actually procreate, and those couples who are beyond childbearing years shouldn't be married either. This is not a religious. We can make it a religious argument, but this isn't a religious argument. This is about a civil contract, a civil law. When I marry two people in my church, they don't come back to me asking me for divorce. That's handled by the courts, and we live in a country of the separation of church and state, and so this is about civil marriage, civil laws, federal laws that cover those people who have decided to make a lifetime commitment to themselves. And we have to understand, heterosexual marriage does not have the best rap. I mean, we are 56% of all marriages in this country end in divorce.
Actually, Reverend Doctor, that isn't true. 50% of all recent marriages have ended in divorce, but all the marriages that have taken place, including the ones that have lasted 40, 50 years, of all the marriages that are currently taking place, only about 15% of them have ended in divorce.
And I know several lesbian and gay couples who have been together 40, 50 years, but have never been afforded the right to marry. Mm-hmm. I'm very proud that in my congregation, ever since 1968, we have married religiously same-gender couples. And I know that in that window of opportunity in 2008, I did nearly 130 weddings. Many of those couples have been together for many years and were celebrating their family just as everybody else celebrates their family. That's the building of a culture and a society. And when we support that in marriage, whether it be same gender or opposite gender, we have a much strengthened society. And I'm really hoping that the Supreme Court is going to come out on the right side of history on this one, and bring about marriage equality, not just in California or Prop 8. I don't agree that we should have ever taken people's rights to the ballots in the first place. But ultimately, if DOMA is found unconstitutional, we're on the road now. And 58% of Americans now believe that same-gender loving couples, same-sex couples should have marriage equality.
Reverend Dr. Neil G. Thomas is my guest. He's president of California for Faith and Equality. Reverend Doctor, not too long ago, Elton John, who has since gotten married, opposed Proposition 8. And he, opposed the people who wanted to have same-sex marriage in California. And what he said was, what difference does it make by calling it a marriage? In California, you have civil unions. You have all sorts of benefits. You can get a lawyer. You can go to a lawyer and make sure that your ability to visit a loved one in a hospital, to make sure assets are transferred, you can do all of that. Elton John said that. Was he wrong when he said that?
Yes, he was. There are 1,000 rights and benefits in federal law that aren't covered under civil unions or under domestic partnerships here in California. And, I know of many couples who have been together 50, 60 years. One partner has died, and they didn't get Social Security as other couples would get. They didn't get the same benefits. They've had their properties reassessed for taxes. And one of them, therefore, had to leave the property because they could no longer afford to live there. Our seniors who have to go back in the closet when they go into senior housing. There are lots and lots of benefits that are not afforded to civil unions or to domestic partnerships. And those are covered by federal law. That's why this is so important for us to get a federal ruling around same-gender marriage.
Reverend Dr. Neil G. Thomas is my guest, president of California for Faith and Equality. Reverend Doctor, if people oppose same-sex marriage, do you consider them to be haters or homophobes?
No, I don't. I believe that we're in a society that continues to change and evolve. And as we've seen over the last few years, the number of folks who are now supporting same-gender marriage has gone up 12 points, I believe, in the last 4 years. It is a part of our evolution. And, there was not so long ago that we opposed interracial marriage in this country. And, if that had been put to the ballot then, we probably still have segregation. This is not something you put to popular vote. It sometimes takes us time. What we've seen in other countries that have already established same-gender marriage, they're doing just fine. Canada, just across the border of our own country, have had marriage equality now for a number of years, and it's stabilized. No one else's marriage has been affected by the reason that two people of the same gender can get married. I think it's part of our evolution, and my hope is that we won't see the stuff that happened after Proposition 8 passed in this country or in California. If the Supreme Court rules against Prop 8 and that marriage equality does not happen in California, I hope that we can do things just a little bit differently than we did 4 years ago. I understand people's anger and people's frustrations, but we're an evolving society, and I don't think it's a question of if this is going to happen. I think it's when and by what means. If it's by the Supreme Court or if it's by another ballot, I truly believe that marriage equality is inevitable.
Reverend Dr. Neil G. Thomas, my guest, president of California for Faith and Equality. Reverend Doctor, I'm happy you said that in the event the Supreme Court rules the other way, you hope that the reaction won't be the same, because what happened here in California is that a enterprise whose owner contributed some money to the Proposition 8 people had their place boycotted, and sales went down as a result of it. You just now said that somebody can have a different point of view in good faith from supporting same-sex marriage, and I'm hoping that people that still support traditional marriage will still be given the respect that they are due, and they're not attacked personally, and their character is not questioned.
Well, let's also be clear that this was also subjected to lesbian and gay people. So, I think there were wrongs and rights on both sides. My hope is that we've learned in the last 4 years to understand one another, to know that we just sometimes do have differing opinions, and that we don't repeat the kind of vile behavior that happened on both sides of this. And it was not just targeted one way. This was a two-way street.
I've seen a lot of intolerance within the gay and lesbian community, where if you don't support same-sex marriage, you're considered to be a hater or a homophobe. I heard a lot of people say that, Reverend Dr.
And I saw a lot on the other side as well, Larry. So, I don't think we need to relive the experience of 4 years ago. I hope that we've matured as a society. We certainly see the polls are showing in that direction, and I certainly hope that whatever the outcome is, that we learn to accept and to see what happens out of that from both those who oppose marriage equality and those who support it.
Well, I'm in agreement with you on that. Reverend Dr. Neil G. Thomas has been my guest, President of California for Faith and Equality. And for the record, Reverend Doctor, I've supported same-sex marriage from day one. I've been on the air since March of 1994. And imagine saying that in March of 1994, which is what I did. I got hounded, hammered. I was called gay, even though I'm not, as if somehow that is something I should apologize for. And I said 20 years from now, many states are going to have same-sex marriage recognized, or we're going to wonder what the big fight was over. I think I was wrong, a little optimistic about that prediction, but I was not wrong about the fact that more and more states are now beginning to accept it. That said, Reverend Doctor, I'm also a lawyer, and what I learned in law school is that all you have to have is a rational reason for discrimination. We're discriminating against people based upon on their orientation, not upon their religion or their race. Those are categories the courts have ruled, Reverend Doctor. If you discriminate against somebody based on race, you better have a damn good reason. I'll give you an example. Here in L.A., we segregate blacks and Hispanics in jail. Otherwise, they kill each other because of the gang rivalries. That is a compelling reason to segregate based upon race. If you have a rational reason, the Supreme Court has ruled that you can discriminate based upon something like sexual orientation. So when I say, Reverend Doctor, that a lot of people in good faith argue that having same-sex marriage will undermine the ability to raise children in a sound way, that is a rational argument, even if you and I don't agree with it. So in my opinion, the Supreme Court might very well come out 5-4 against your position.
They may do, and as I say, I think we're going to have to wait. We're not going to wait too long, but listening to the arguments in the Supreme Court today, there was nothing that was really argued against the fundamental right of marital equality.
Right.
So I think, let me just say this, Larry, I just sincerely hope that, especially as people of faith, that once this is behind us, I can't understand why we spend so much time talking about what two people do in the bedroom or what they do with their own relationship. I sincerely hope that as good people of faith, that we can start to address some of these issues about homelessness and about poverty and about all of the things I think people of good faith should be doing in society rather than getting their business into somebody else's life. Fair
enough. Reverend Dr. Neil Thomas, Senior Pastor, Metropolitan Community Church of Los Angeles, President of California for Faith and Equality. Very good guest. I've been appreciating it, Reverend Doctor. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you very much indeed, Larry.
Got it.